I am Marcy. I am a teacher, a mom to a child with special needs. I am a todóloga. I like to do a little bit of everything. ¿Qué más? All around good person. I am a member of the Mami Chula Social Club. And I don't know. I'm me.
That's beautiful. That's great. That's more than we need. This is great because I wanted to get to know you more because you have all these layers, right, to you, and I'm still discovering more who you are. So I guess my first thing that I want to jump into, and I guess is a passion of yours, you're a teacher. Like, how was that something that you always wanted to do, a passion of yours? How did you get into that? What was the journey of you like, you know what?
Okay.
I want to start teaching and be around kids.
I mean, I've always found kids hilarious. When I was a kid, I mean, my mom's a teacher, so
really?
It runs in my family. So like literally out of everybody, the majority, I want to say like 80% are teachers.
And your family?
Yeah, my mom's side at least. Yeah, 80% are teachers. Like I have cousins that are teachers, aunts that are teachers. My mom's a teacher. I'm a teacher. Like, and then it's like kind of,
you had to follow that path.
not that I had to follow it, because like I was like, fuck being a teacher. I'm going to be in business. I'm going to make money, right? So I decided my undergrad, because I'm good with people, right? So in my undergrad, I pursued business administration and management. Like the goal was initially to travel the world and be the manager of some fancy hotel.
That was your Lamborghini, by the way.
No.
Just like money, make money. Perfect time.
So, because I come from the hood, you know, we didn't grow up on top of everything. So it was kind of like, what can I do that's gonna make me a lot of money? So I thought, go into business because I'm good with people and I'm good with numbers and all that. So I did that. I worked for a big bank for 5 years almost. I hated it. We used to get 2 days off a month, and I would take every month I would take the 2 days off.
No.
Because I couldn't deal. Like it was cool, like talking. I was very energized by talking to different people from different avenues of life.
Yeah.
I enjoy that so much. But I came to find out once I was working in that field that I'm very much not a person that can be boxed into a specific, like I don't know, maybe I'm defiant, but like I don't like to like be told what to do. Right. I don't like to be micromanaged. I hate it. So I wanted to be in something that I had the creative control of, and that I had the creative freedom to just kind of improvise, So that's when I went into teaching. But before I went into my undergrad, actually, if we go back a little bit further, my first job was as a group leader for after school and summer camp program. So I did that and worked with the Children's Aid Society from when I was 18 till like 22. And then I went into work at the bank. And then I quit the bank and decided to go into teaching because I was like so unhappy there.
I want to touch on that because I think that's great, where we sometimes go in different routes of our lives, and we could either decide to stay there or we could decide to move on to something new. Was it take us to that moment? What was the moment you said, you know what, fuck this, I'm leaving? Was it scary for you? Did you knew automatically it's like, okay, I'm not doing this, so fuck this, I'm gonna go teach? Like, what was that moment for you? It's like, nah, it's not so right.
I mean, I've talked about it in a couple of other shows and on my podcast as well, which I didn't mention. I'm a podcast host of Comadreando Podcast. But basically, I was going through a separation with my ex-husband, and we split. And immediately after, my son gets diagnosed with autism. And I'm kind of having like a dark night of the soul, in the sense that mental health wise, I wasn't great, and I was going through all of that, plus, the diagnosis, which is like
Yeah.
a whole another layer. And
Yeah, which we're
then,
gonna get into. I want to get into that too.
yeah, and then, working at that job that I had to like drag myself out of bed to get to, it got to a point that when my son first got diagnosed, I decided to take 3 months off family leave, to see how he was gonna acclimate to the therapies. And in those 3 months, it was kind of like the pandemic. I was like, yo, Marcy, what are you gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you're not happy. You don't want to be there. Like every day that I was closer to going back to work, I was like, fuck, I don't want to
Yeah.
go there.
It's the worst
So
feeling.
I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna apply to grad school. So I applied to grad school, and I got in, and then I applied to the Department of Education, because at that time they had like they closed down like the applications for assistant teachers, like for a certain part of the year, and then they had like kind of like open market, so you could just apply.
Mm-hmm.
So I applied through there, and then I got in, and at the bank, before I went back, I asked them to demote me so that I can have a flexible schedule. So I was a personal banker, and they put me down to being a teller, because I wanted to be able to have that flexible schedule to go and come, and kind of not have to be there like for
Yeah.
an extended period of time. So, I took a pay cut because I was making a lot of money, but
Yeah.
I preferred to be happy,
Mm.
Going to work.
And then how this is great because here you are growing up and coming from nothing, have to earn everything that you have to get in life. And then you get the money, right? It may not be the millions that you probably dreamed of and all stuff, but you get financial security, right? And then it's like it came at a cost, with a job that you didn't want. So what did you learn about yourself in those moments? When you now, you look back, you're like, you came from nothing. Now I got pennies in my account now, and then, but I'm not happy. What did you learn about yourself in those moments to make that decision, reflecting on your life, reflecting, on your mental health? Like, what was some lessons that you was learning about yourself?
I learned that ethically, I can't do some certain things for money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just doesn't sit right in my soul. I cannot sit in front of a person with fixed income and tell them, hey, you're pre-approved for a $50,000 credit card, but I know you're making $500 from Social Security. I cannot in good conscience sit and give this person this line of credit and have them get in debt and not be able to pay for their bills. Like that, like, I feel like a lot of the customers that I had at the bank gravitated towards me because I was like very no nonsense, and I wasn't gonna sell you something just to make a profit off of it, So I definitely, became more aligned in the sense that I am not willing to do a lot of things for money. I am not willing to sell my soul. I am not willing to, become a robot and just follow the beat of somebody else's drum just because it's gonna make me money. Like that. I prefer to be happy, and if that means taking a pay cut and working harder, because honestly, like teachers work freaking hard. Like,
you guys deserve way more than what
we work so hard, because it's like everybody's like, oh, you got vacations, you got summer vacation, you have all these days off, blah blah blah. But we're literally on 24/7. Like, I leave work and I have to come home and lesson plan until like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock sometimes. And then where's the space for me to be a mother? So balancing all of that and like making time to have fun, to be able to like maintain the mental health aspect, it's a lot. And I feel like what I realized honestly is that I'm not willing to do everything for money, and I feel like I value my happiness and my peace above everything else.
How did you learn to, or still learning how to manage to do all these, wear all these hats? Like you said, you come home, you're a teacher, it's 24/7 job, you're a mother, you have your own social life, your own podcast, which I want to get into. How did you learn, or what helps you to figure out a schedule so you are touching certain things, and not losing grip, and also losing grip of yourself?
Yeah. So, I honestly, it's going to sound bad, but if I have to take a day, I take a day. And if I need to,
That's
on a
not bad at all.
Saturday,
That's fucking facts.
on a Saturday or Sunday, if I feel like staying in my pajamas all day and, getting up just to make breakfast for my kid and lunch and just freaking chilling out and vegging out, watching Netflix, I'm going to do that. I'm going to give myself what I need. I'm not going to push myself to the point that I feel like I'm going to have like a breakdown. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like I have to give myself self-care to be a good mom, to be a good teacher, to, when I'm at my wit's end, it reflects in my career, it reflects in my relationships with my child and my family members, it reflects in all aspects of my life. So I make sure that I prioritize my self-care and my mental health above everything else. So, I go to therapy and, I was at a point that I actually had to take medication for depression, and doing all that stuff, like, and being very cognizant and checking in with myself and setting healthy boundaries with people. Because the thing with me is that, based on my upbringing, I ended up being a people pleaser in a way. So, I would say yes, even if I wanted to say no. So now it's like, if it doesn't align, it's a hard no from me. And I do not feel guilty about it anymore,
I'm going to give you some soft claps so it doesn't go on the mic. But I think that was awesome and beautiful for you to be so honest and vulnerable to share what you just shared. And there's nothing wrong to admit that I need help. I'm going to go get therapy. Sometimes you may need to take a medication and see how that works with you. Some people may not. There's many different forms of trying to hear yourself, but most importantly, you heard yourself and you allowed yourself to go through the motions, but say something's wrong. Let me go find some different routes to get better, right? Seek that help. And I think that's the most important step. A lot of people may, continuously ignore that voice, where sometimes, whether you like it or not, your body may just shut off and be like, okay, well, you're going to listen one way or another,
and that's real.
Yep. And I know I've been there. A lot of friends that have been there, especially with my anxiety at times too. Like, that was something new for me to experience. I was like, holy shit, but I wasn't afraid to share that, into what's wrong with my life. I need to, go to, I have my spiritual teacher that I was speaking to in therapy and all that stuff. So I think that's key. What you did is that you heard yourself and you decided to find the steps to move forward, because a lot of people don't want to take those steps, or they're afraid, or what are people going to think? What are people going to say? Feeling judged. I wanted to touch on the teaching aspect, because it seems like you are around many kids, and kids teach you a lot of things. And here you are in a sense of like teaching yourself, right? Teaching yourself new things of like, hey, it's okay to say no. Hey, it is okay to lay down, eat some ice cream, be in your pajamas, and don't do anything, which is awesome. What is it about teaching that helps you, or what is it about teaching that draws you in? I understand that it's a family thing, but also it also on a personal level too. It affects you in a great deal, even though you got your badass kids. Everyone knows that, but on those good days, what is it about teaching that you love, and what is that you learn from your students?
All right, I'm gonna share with you a moment that just really solidifies the career that I picked. So it's like, I'm teaching a concept to the class, and I have that one kid that isn't getting it, right? And I'm looking in their eyes and I see they're like confused. So then, I'm a responsive teacher. So I see the kid, I'm understanding. Then I think about another way to explain it in a way that they're going to understand. And then when I see that light in their eye that just flickers on, it's like, that is it for me. That's like the moment for me. And I get that so often. And just being a person of color and somebody from their neighborhood, somebody that they can look up to, and that isn't necessarily somebody that's in the streets, or isn't a celebrity that they're like looking up to, that isn't like the best example. It's like important for me. And at least a lot of the little girls, like, and the boys too, they gravitate a lot towards me, and they're like, oh man, Miss Campos, I love you so much. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, yo, you're just so like genuine, and you're so real, and you really love what you do, and it shows that you care, and
Mm.
we appreciate that about you. Because not everybody goes into teaching for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And I like, honestly, like, besides the fact that I'm scared of having another child, I feel
Yeah.
like they're my children. Like, in the
Hmm.
morning, I'm gonna share an anecdote. It's I'm in the morning, I'm outside in the cold receiving all the kids and saying good morning to them. But I literally know all the kids' names, like all of them that pass by.
Mm.
I'm like, hey, Johnny, how are you? The parents know me. And it's like that interaction. I just feel like when I'm teaching, I feel like I'm making a difference, and that I'm, I want to be that important teacher in their lives that they're going to remember. Like, they're like 50 years old. Oh, yeah, I remember Miss Campos and,
No, you are
elementary
Miss
people.
Campos. You are. And the reason why I say that, I just want to say thank you for being that teacher, genuinely, because, of course, with the system is hard, especially in the Board of Education, you got your politics, and then you have kids. You have that, the heart, especially in this generation, how, they are being brought up. It's not like how in the past. So there's another layer of what you have to deal with too.
Mhm.
But I just want to say I think that's beautiful, and I thank you for doing that, because it touches me, because if it wasn't for teachers, I wouldn't be on this path that I am. I had a good amount of great teachers that actually cared and had that spirit that you had, that made a difference in my life. And I shouted them out before, and whenever I get a chance, I will shout them out again. Mr. Bertoldis, a beautiful white man in high school, was like one of my first white teachers that I was like watching Full House, and I'm like, oh shit, he's white. This is like my first white interaction. Like, besides that, all I'm from the hood, so all my teachers were black, and it was great. But I was like, oh snap! So Mr. Bartoldis took time out of his lunch period to teach me how to play guitar. When I told
Wow.
him, Mr. Griffin, junior high school, he was the first person to introduce me to different types of music that I love too as well, and took the time to cater that and raise my curiosity of like Led Zeppelin, all these
Mhm.
other classical rock stuff, and I would go to him and would chill. Mr. Lattis, Mr. Stallings. So anyway, and I still talk to them to this day. And when they come to
Yeah.
see my shows, I give them this big hug, and I make them feel old, because they're like, "Damn, I remember you was like 12 or 13, right?"
Yeah.
But it's just beautiful to see that, because I know they made a difference in my life, and a lot of teachers, even in college, made a difference in my life, and I feel like where once there was many, I'm just gonna use a ballpark number. Let's say there was 90% of the teachers that felt that same spirit that you had. I feel like now it has dwindled so low, because of everything that they have to go through. Is just
Mhm.
not feeling the same anymore. And it's sad, because, and I get both sides of the story, right? Because after a while it's draining. But it's so sad, because if we are losing, if these teachers are losing the passion and fire, then you're gonna lose examples of us, like how you
Mhm.
are, how I am. These people that are still learning and growing have a chance in this world to find their place, right? And
Mhm.
they'll always remember, yo, you know, this person never gave up on me, or this person helped me.
Mhm.
That those stories are gonna stop after a while, because that fire is no longer in these new teachers, because of what they're going through and all that stuff, and how it's making it tough. But I think that's beautiful for you to be that person, and I want to honor that, and say continue being that, and
Thank you.
because you are making a difference, and you're making a huge difference even in your podcast from the people that you interview. You make a difference in your life. So, and the way you make a difference by being true to yourself and
Yeah.
do it out of love, and it's coming out of love, and I see that. So thank you for that. um I want to also ask now, there was a moment you said that you're scared to have a child again, and this is where I want to lead into, um you have a child that has autism, and I
Mhm.
wanted to speak on that whole journey of, from the moment that you heard that he was diagnosed, that he might be on the spectrum, or he is on the spectrum. What was that moment for you, and what did you do to allow yourself to learn from that situation, to inform yourself, right? To know what this is about. How do I now allow my son to teach me? Like, if you can, I know you probably spoke about it, but I'm hopefully ask new questions that maybe you haven't.
No, of course, yeah.
But what was that moment for you, learning about this diagnosis, and what did you do to move forward to, I guess, learn from this?
So for me, I mean, I noticed a regression in speech. So he was talking, and then he lost the majority of his words. And you know, my aunt who passed away, she was the one that was like, "Hey, Aiden doesn't speak," and I'm like, "What do you mean?" Then we noticed that he wasn't, and I decided to take him to the pediatrician. Once I took him to the pediatrician, they were like, "Oh, just wait." I'm like, I know children, once they start talking, they don't stop. Like the words don't leave.
Yeah.
So they put in the referral for of Health and Department of Health. They sent him to be evaluated. I already had the suspicion, but it was kind of like when they tell you, it's like a punch in the gut.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know you have a kid. You have all these dreams for your child.
Yeah.
And it's like somebody just takes it away. And it's not the doctor's fault, but it's like, you have this beautiful thing and it's like smashed to pieces. Right. So that in that moment, it's very bewildering in the sense that you don't know what's going to happen next. Mm-hmm. What your child's life is going to be like. What the future will be. It's like all
the unknown.
Yeah, a lot of unknown. And yeah, I was scared because I didn't know what his life was going to be like when he got older. Was he going to get quote unquote better, and then I started reading and I started studying and researching and all that. And I saw, I started looking up people that had autism, because honestly before that, like, I had heard of it briefly, but I didn't know that I knew of that. I didn't know anybody that was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. So and then my experience going to school is like the people that had special needs were not integrated with us. Like we didn't really interact with them in elementary school or junior high school. Yeah. And high school either. So it was just kind of like, navigating that and learning him and allowing him to kind of teach me, because it's important, you have all these expectations, but it's, listening and learning from your child and seeing who they are and like what things spark their interest and what they are good at. Because the thing is, it's like, there's a lot of times when people talk about disabilities, it's a deficit-based approach. And I like to look at it like he has a different skill set and he can do things in a different way. Like he can do all the things. It's just differently than what we do it.
Yeah, it's in his way. That vision that you had before this diagnosis, and then you hear the diagnosis and then your vision gets altered. Has it since been repaired in a new light now? After you being with, your son and learning from him and the ups and downs, has this new vision now approach of like, he still can do everything that I once envisioned, but here's a detour of how we're going to be able to do that.
Yeah, I just feel, like the timelines that I had, like, it's crazy how we like have these expectations. Like the timelines that I had are like skewed, because he developmentally, he's not his age. So he's younger. And so, he's going to do all those things. It's just going to take him a different amount of time. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. But there was one point though, like at the beginning, when he was first getting therapy, that I didn't know if he was going to be able to be independent, because there was a lot of things like, because, they show you that little chart with like all the checklists, like all the milestones and stuff. Your kid's supposed to be doing this, and this and that. They're not doing that. They're, they need to learn this. They need to learn that. And, at one point I was just like it's very overwhelming. Yeah. Because you don't know if your kid's going to be able to do that eventually. But, I really took to heart my learning experience, and I really was open to learning from his teachers and his service providers and stuff like that. So yo me fajé. I like started
Yeah.
working really hard with them and making sure that it was like a team effort. It wasn't like a one-sided thing, I felt like it was never going to work if it was just them pushing and me not
Yeah.
doing much, to support.
Do you have this relationship with him where now like you're teaching him things and he's teaching you? What has he taught you that if it wasn't for him, you wouldn't have, and learn it came from him.
Just patience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm a patient person, but like more patience and understanding. Like he's the one actually that taught me more about boundaries. He's very good about setting boundaries, and if he is not with something or he doesn't like an idea, he's gonna voice that and he's not gonna want to do it. So for me, because I had very loose boundaries before, him having such strong boundaries was kind of like learning how to respect that individuality and his like autonomy.
Yeah.
And then setting that up for myself as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then defending his boundaries. Because the thing is like let's give an example. For example, in Latino culture, Dominican culture, the norm is like people come in and they say hello, but then everybody's like hugging and kissing.
Mm-hmm.
That's not his thing. He doesn't like to really be touched like that. Like he'll go in for a hug if he wants to, but he's not like a hugger or a kisser or whatever. Like he'll say hi de lejito. And like back in the day, I remember when I was a kid, they would make me feel guilty. Like, oh, tiene que saludar a la gente, que si yo quiero dar un abrazo. Like, I don't force him to do that. So it's like, he's teaching me to have healthy boundaries and to be okay with people not doing things in a certain way.
Right.
That is like quote unquote traditional. Like it's okay not to do those things and still be a decent human being.
No, I think that's great because like you said, a lot when we're born into this world, a lot of this shit that we're born pure, and a lot of this baggage that we carry come from family, come from society, comes from other places that didn't come from us per se. So we come impure and then we learn all these things and stacks these layers on top of us, and then we eventually got to break them. And it seems like that he's teaching you some of these things that like, no, it's okay not to say hi from a distance, but it's okay not to go for a hug. It's okay not to kiss someone. It's okay to say no. It's okay that I don't want to do this. It's okay to respect how you feel. And that's something that naturally we get caught up in depending on the situation, how we're raised with family. What were some moments, because you got a lot of great moments with your students that you had this, like when you see that light in their eyes that they was getting it. What were some moments for you that you shared with your son? Those moments where it was just from a mom perspective that you was maybe teaching him something, and like finally you're like, oh shit, I see that light, like he got it.
Honestly, I want to give you like the most recent one. So the other day I was going out and my mom took him with her to Jersey. She lives in Jersey. And I've gotten to the point of like hanging back a little. I'm not being like the helicopter mom. I'm not like on top of him. I'm giving him his space because he's still, even though developmentally he's not 13, he still has that yearning to be independent and to do his things on his own terms and in his own way. So I got him ready and he had his bag, and I'm like, okay, baby, I'm gonna be watching you through the window. You're gonna go outside. And my mom was waiting like right in front. So the building is like an H, right? I can see to the front of the building, and then there's like a gate. And then my mom was standing right on the other side of the gate. So I'm like, all right, straight to grandma. Do not stop on the way. So he goes there, he says hi to my mom. And as right before he gets in the car, he turns around, he looks up at me from the window, and he says to me, okay, mom, text me when you get home. I'll see you later. And I was just like, oh my God, I have a teenager in my hands. And it was like, like when he was a baby, I didn't feel like he was going to get there. And I know that's like a pessimistic view, is just like, I'm going to be honest. It's like, it's like you get into a moment of despair in a way.
Yeah.
And you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel.
But it's a normal feeling. Like all those things you're experiencing, I would experience those too. Like it's a normal feeling to have. And I think there's nothing that we should feel guilty about, because or even like, you know, afraid about to share, because you know what? It's the fucking truth. It's my
Mm-hmm.
truth. Like, my wife is up there in age, you know, she's 46, you
Mm-hmm.
know, so, and I'm only 34. We had our child, you know, she's still fresh. She's still, she's like, it's about to turn 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I had my concerns, she had her concerns,
Mm-hmm.
because when you're up there in age, they want to put all these, you know, high risk and all these possibilities could happen.
Yeah.
Down syndrome, you know, autism. All you might even die having this baby. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I had all my things, and I remember she asked me like, how did you feel if we have a child that's Down syndrome? I said, whatever's down, up, sideways, I'm still gonna love that child. I don't give a fuck
Mm-hmm.
what syndrome he has. It's my child. You know what I'm saying? Now, is it going to be a journey and tough? Absolutely. I'm going to have my moments where I'm going to be fucking pissed or
Mm-hmm.
happy or annoyed, like, God damn it. Like, you know, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to share exactly how I want to, how I feel, because I can't hold it inside as I'm going through the moment. Or another one was like, what if your child, what if she ends up being gay? I say, I don't care if she's gay or not. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
she was just asking me all these questions to see, I guess, where I'm at, if she knew me. But I guess it was like powerful to hear, for her to hear, to know that, like, if my child is gay, I don't care either. Like, I'm
Yeah.
still gonna love that child no matter what. And whatever comes out that vagina, and they're gonna say whatever they say about it. You know what I'm saying? I'm still gonna love that child, and I'm gonna have to go through a journey, right? Because I went through a journey being a first time father, and I'm still going
Yeah.
through it. So,
It's a lot.
but I'm being honest about the process. You know,
Yeah.
honest, and because it's my truth, and people felt it, and they understand it. So I can understand where you're coming from, like how that moment may be so small to many others, but it was so huge for you,
Mm-hmm.
because here you are, when you cutting back to the diagnosis, and of course you had this vision of what you want, a timeline, but then now you have a different timeline. So now it's almost like you're in the unknown with your child, and you're embracing these moments by being present when they happen. There's no
Mm-hmm.
fucking timeline on that. So when
Mm-hmm.
he did something like that, you're like, oh wow, I
Mm-hmm.
I officially have a teenager, or I have a son that just did that. He walked, did by himself, wave, okay, text me. Like, it's fucking huge. I was happy when I heard it. It's a huge fucking moment. Like, I was like, oh damn. Like, I was even like, oh, he did all that. Like, and but yeah, I think that's amazing, and I think
He's
that's
funny
dope.
though. He'll like I'll be out on dates and he'll FaceTime me like, "Oh, so mom, where are you?"
First of all, Miss Campos, where you going on dates? No, not you teaching. You're not supposed to be going on dates. You're a teacher. Yo, that was a mind shock for me when I found out that my teachers had like a life outside of teaching.
All my kids.
I was
All
like,
my,
what?
like especially the babies, the kindergartners, they're like, "So you sleep here?" I'm like, I was like, I live in the neighborhood, but no, I don't sleep here. They're like,
Yo, I was shocked. One of the biggest shock things, right? I went to, I was like 19 or 20. I went to a concert where one of my teachers, I'm gonna shout him out, Mr. McLaughlin. So he was like, "Are you in town? I know you came from college." I said, "Yeah, I'm actually on break." He said, "I have tickets to go to this concert. You want to come with me?" I was like, "Yeah, dope." I'm like, "Yo, it's cool. I haven't seen McLaughlin since I was in high school. Been some time." So we go, we chilling. He says, "Oh, the band ain't gonna start till like no 30 minutes from now. So let's go to the roof or whatever to the thing." He said, "Everybody's like
uh-huh.
a patio." I was like, "All right, dope." So I'm there, we chatting, catching up. He goes in his pocket. He's like, "Yeah, yeah." So yeah, that's oh, so you taking that up? Oh man, that's crazy. Yeah. So you know, you like it over there? You like it? Yeah. So you really like it over there? He was like, "Oh," I'm looking at him.
You're like,
I was like, "McLaughlin, you do drugs? You always you smoke?" It was like, I was like so innocent at that point, even though I've been around mad people that smoke and do all
yeah,
that
yeah,
shit.
yeah.
But to him, I was like, McLaughlin, you told me for so long to not do drugs, and here you are doing drugs. He was like, yeah, I told you not to do drugs. I ain't say me. And that was like another stamp of approval. I was like, yeah,
Oh
people
my
should have
gosh.
their own fucking lives. And then he was like, how did you think I fucking survived all these years teaching you fuckheads? I was like,
Oh
oh,
my
that's true.
God.
So
yeah.
so that was like a great moment. Like teachers have lives outside of this, and I thought that was fucking awesome. So, um, so everybody here's everybody knows Miss Campos be going on dates and stuff like that. So if you see Miss
So one of my
Campos out in the
students.
area, you saw one of
I
your
saw
students.
one of my students. I was on a date and I was at Flor de Mayo on like
Mm-hmm.
100 and what is that, 110, whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
So I'm in the date and I'm like, I don't look like this at school. Like I'm like, I got the glasses
yeah.
on, barely any makeup. My hair is like, pulled back. And then she sees me, she's like, Miss Campos? And her eyes like literally popped out of her head.
That's
And then,
funny.
I was having like wine and I was just
Yeah,
like trying to hide the wine glass.
yeah,
And
yeah.
the mom was like saying, she's like, hey. And then like she kept looking. She's like, that's my teacher.
That's
I was
hilarious.
like, oh God. She was one of my favorite students though, but she was hilarious. And then on Monday, she was like, I saw Miss Campos in a restaurant. She was on a date.
that happened to me too. So Miss Salatis in high school, she was a fine looking white lady and she had an ass too, like a big black booty. And we was like, at that time we was like, how the hell did she get this ass? Everybody was like, oh damn, and she was cute. So I had a girlfriend at the time that she lived in Staten Island. Miss Salatis lived in Staten Island too, right? So I was coming home late at night from my girlfriend's house and I was gonna take the ferry back into New York.
Jesus Christ.
Now here comes Miss Salatis out of the ferry, and it's like 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning, and she is lit, boy. She had a lot of glasses, a lot of bottles of wine. And I'm like, Miss Salatis. She's like, oh my God, Ricardo, like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I was here to see my girlfriend, blah, blah. She was like, oh my God, like, it's so nice to see you and stuff like that. I'm always been the jokey type or whatever. And I used to always like Miss Salatis, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the girlfriend I have now, we ain't always gonna be together because I'm going to college. Like I was so everybody will joke around like, yo, you should try to talk to Miss Salatis. So anyway, she leaves, and on Monday, I bring it up while in English class, and I tell my friend, I was like, yo, I saw Miss Salatis, and I brought up in class like Miss Salatis was drunk. She was like, you should take me home. Everybody was like, shut up. Everybody's like,
yeah.
It was like, Ricardo, that did not happen. I was drunk. That happened. So she said, but I didn't need no help.
My God.
So I don't know. I always saw like, to me, seeing those type of things in teachers, I feel like it grounded them, right? Like you saw,
made them
more human. Like, yo, she got her own life. She going through her own shit too, and that's who I am, and that's who I want to look up to. In a sense, if I'm going to look up to anybody, is someone that I can relate to.
Yeah.
Now relating jumps right into what made you want to start this podcast, because you are relating to a lot of people. You're sharing a lot of different truths to people. Other people are sharing their truths, and that's one of the things that connected me to you was the truth. My good friend Jerry, I saw him on the podcast and I just started seeing the clips and I started listening to it. And I was like, I like this. Anything that you hear people sharing from within, I'm on board. And then I had the honor to be on your podcast. And I was like, yo, Marcy's mad cool. Miss I want her to be my teacher, Miss Campos. I'm going to register next year to be in her class. So how did you come up with this idea to start becoming a podcaster now, having another layer, another journey into your life?
You get one more thing for the
right.
So I was okay, so we're gonna backtrack. So I was in the Vagina Monologues as part of the Women's Social Club that I'm part of. So I had a part in that, and I got to meet Mari, Suli, and Liz of El Salon Chronicles there. They were they all had roles in the show, and via us practicing and rehearsing, we got to get really cool with each other. At one point after the show, this was like the show we like did the premiere right before we got shut down. Like the beginning of March, we shut down at the end of March. And we had been in contact, whatever, and then they invited me on their show. I want to say April of last year. So they were just interested in my story because they knew I was a teacher, that I was a mom, that I was, dating and all this stuff. So they kind of did, the name of the episode was Super Mom, Super Teacher, Super Tired. Because I talked about kind of like my frustrations with the
Yeah.
educational system and the things that were going on. And, you know, one day we're heroes, the next day they're like, oh, these lazy teachers need to go back and whatever.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was very honest and very open on the show. I talked about my son's diagnosis and kind of like the warning signs that I saw at the beginning. And they got a lot of feedback on that
Mm.
episode. People asking me like, Marcia needs to have her own show. She needs to
Mm-hmm.
share. She needs to, like, you know, inform people and all that stuff. So they reached out to me. They were looking to expand their network and they asked me to create a show. So I started thinking about the concept for the show, and I honestly wanted to create a community where parents felt comfortable sharing, getting information, and people that were not parents of children with special needs and getting information and becoming more educated on about different topics. So the concept of the show, honestly, my mom has a comadre, shout out to Tia Cecilia, she listens to my show.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she has a comadre that they would always get together. They
Mm-hmm.
we lived in the Heights, she lived in the Bronx. But they would always get together. When we would get together, it would be me and my cousins playing in the room. They would kick us out. I was the oldest, so I was always trying to be eavesdropping de entre metía. Um, so, you know, I'd be like trying to listen, and they're like, no, no, you can't be here. It's comadre time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they would kick me out. Then when I had a kid with my best friend, Merlin, we started adopting that. So we would have
Mm-hmm.
comadre time. We would have the kids play with each other, play in the living room, and then we would just like sit down and have this intimate conversation about stuff that we didn't feel comfortable talking about over the phone.
Mm.
Because, you know, when you're over the phone and you're married, you know, sometimes your spouse is there, you don't feel
Of course.
comfortable sharing. You know, there's things that you might just want to vent about, not necessarily like something terrible, but like something you want to talk about, but you don't feel comfortable bringing that up
Mm-hmm.
in front of somebody or like being judged by that person. So,
Yeah.
you know, I wanted to kind of bring in that intimate aspect into the show and have people feel comfortable in sharing and informing people and all of that. So, you know, that's where the Comadreando
Mm.
concept came out of.
How fulfilling is it for you to now have a platform to share your thoughts, to share with others? Because it seems like the comadre time that you had with your best friend was very key into your growth, and also just to let it out, you know, and vent.
Mm-hmm.
How important was that for you now to have now another layer to do that? How fulfilling was that for you?
It's funny because I was texting because my like since I'm part of ESC the network,
Mm-hmm.
we have like, you know, WhatsApp headquarters, and
Mm-hmm.
then we have like relationships with each other. So I was texting one of the girls and I was like, you know, I manifested this, and she's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I was at a point where I was thinking about launching my own business, a consulting business, because I wanted to help more parents and more teachers in a bigger way. So I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to just work with one school. I wanted to branch out and help other schools and
Mm-hmm.
other parents, right? And this idea came to me during the pandemic because, you know, they were using me to teach the parents, teach the teachers, teach the children. And I felt like the stuff that I was teaching, I wanted to be able to share it with more people.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the podcast now has turned into something that I'm helping more people from all over, not just my immediate community, you know. So, you know, that's that the ultimate goal is like to help more people and kind of, you know, take away the stigma from special needs. I remember one thing, my one of my close teacher friends, when she first met me, she's like, I thought all special education teachers were weird and you're normal. Like
Mm.
you're completely normal and you're cool and you're so smart. And I'm like, thank you for the compliment. It's
It's true
like,
though. It's true. Yeah,
but,
that
but I'm just like,
it like in my I mean, from what I can remember, the special ed teachers, they was like and where I grew up super old. They, you know, they just didn't look like they was into it. Like
yeah.
totally the total opposite from the teachers now, like you know what I'm saying? Like you at least I can look at, like, you're beautiful and stuff like that. Like if I wasn't like it would make me want to pay attention more. Like if I had those teachers, like how they was looking, I don't want to even look at her. I don't want to look at the blackboard. Like I was like, I'm good. I'll learn this in the house or on YouTube down the road.
No.
Like,
What's funny is that I'm online dating now,
Yeah.
and then there's always like one guy. It's like, oh well, if you were my teacher, I'm sure I would get 100 in your class. I'm like, God, it's creepy. I'm like, I don't date my students, thanks.
Yeah,
But or they'll be like, oh, so when are you gonna tutor me? I'm like,
come on, I give you some extra credit.
I'm good, thanks. So.
See, like I had hot teachers growing up, like and stuff like that. I was
did?
never that.
Literally
I had a couple like in high school. I had a couple, and in college now it was different because they could do harassment and shit like that. But in high school it was like I had a couple and stuff like that, and we all the cool. If you was cool with her, you would joke around with her and stuff like that, and she would do stuff like that, like no, you're too young, blah blah blah, blah blah, and like she'll just laugh at. Celeste was one of them. But I was never like that creep that was like for real. Like, come on. Like, mine was like more like flirty, jerky, joking type and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's guys that actually will say it, but like they really mean it and will try to like to do it. But whatever, pick a different path. I wanted to ask you. So now you have this podcast, you launched it, and you're getting all this feedback, you're making a difference. Like at the end of the day, I want to ask you, like, what do you get from it? And besides just like venting and let it go, like, what did you get from this creating a new lane for yourself? Because it's very different from the other lanes that you are doing. You know, what is so special about this for you?
I feel like, honestly, I was like talking about this to one of my friends. She's very spiritual, and I'm like, I feel like I'm finally like in alignment in the path that I'm supposed to be. Because I can spend hours editing an episode. I can spend hours, producing promotional material. I can spend hours planning out the agendas because Rick knows I'm very like precise.
I got it.
My little questions and stuff.
Yeah, list of questions. She sends it to you. I remember on the phone, it's like, you don't have to send it. We could just wing it if you want. Like, I don't like to see it. And I loved it. She was like, well, I have a system. And then once I heard that, I was like, shut the fuck up, because this is a lady with a plan. I know I don't want her to think that I'm that guy. I was like, you know what, but we should do it this way. I was like, no, I was just trying to hopefully help her, because it sounded like she was doing compras. So I was like, you don't have to send this. Cool. She's like, but I have a system. Just like, in other words, shut up. I'm going to fucking send it. You read it. I have a fucking system. All right. And you follow that and shut your fucking mouth. And I was like, all right, cool. No problem.
But yeah, and also
that was like, as per my email. Yeah.
in parentheses. No, but seriously, it's just, I get satisfaction from it. And I feel like, it's a double-edged sword in a way. Like, I'm helping people, and I'm helping myself express myself creatively, even though it's not singing, dancing, drawing, or anything like that. It's in a different way. It's a different way of being creative, which is like my thing. Like, I got into programming and, like digital art and stuff like that. I'm teaching my students that too. And it's like, I feel like it's another way of being creative in a different way.
Now, I also want to touch on briefly too, another layer, and you mentioned that you separated from your husband, you are going on dates. So I want to know, how is it different now for you, where you are still learning for yourself, but have a great grasp of what you're looking for, what you're not looking for? How is it different now? Because you don't have time to waste, really.
Mm-hmm.
You got all this stuff. So what is it? How do you move now in this world where, I'm gonna say too, there's not a lot of great opportunities of men that's out there, because the way they follow this generation, how they are, it's just not great. You know what I'm saying? Before I met my wife and stuff like that, I was having my fun out there and stuff like that, but I was always honest. I didn't lead nobody on. I said, this is what, you know what I'm saying? So we're just gonna go on this journey and just have fun, whatever that fun means. but I will always be honest with you, and I'm not gonna treat you like crap. Well, if we go on a date, I'm gonna treat you like a gentleman, because that's how I was. I didn't want to be those guys that I saw that my mom had and my sister had, and they didn't treat them right. So I knew that I didn't want to become those dudes. And even my own dad, who wasn't in the picture anymore, I didn't want to become that. And I learned that I can still have my fun, but I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna lead nobody on, and and I'm just not gonna be unsure of what I want. I'm gonna be honest about that.
Yeah.
And have a compromise and understanding from both sides, right?
And be a decent human being.
And be a decent human, be a decent human being, a decent fucking guy. You know what I'm saying? And in my experience, it seemed like the more I did that, the more of the opportunities or these blessings and these connections that I had with women. Because I'm like, wow, there's not a lot of guys that are being just honest to themselves and honest to people. And I'm like, holy crap. So I say that to say, now you're in this world. You can't waste any time. You know what you're looking for in a sense or an idea. How do you maneuver in that? What is the different version that you are right now when you go out there in that world and just dating?
So it's funny that you mentioned like your spiritual teacher. So I had an awakening of sorts. Like I did a lot of work, through therapy. I uncovered all that crap. I did a lot of like cord cutting rituals with the Brujas of Brooklyn, kind of getting rid of all these cords and kind of sitting in my shit and like working those things out, like working through the mother wound, the father wound, forgiving myself, for, not knowing, like for having more grace with myself. Right. So through that, and the dating process, I began to be more conscientious or more purposeful in my dating. I feel more aware, right, about who I permit to be in my space. Time is limited, but I don't know, like after I got divorced, I feel like, not that I don't want to get married again, but I don't know. It's like, if it doesn't happen, I'm okay with that.
Right.
But I'm not also trying to be out there just letting anybody into my energy and like having people,
letting them into your classroom. You like that?
No, because like, okay, so there was something I read. It's like, moths, all kinds of bugs are attracted to light, right? And I've been told this before, I have a very huge light inside of me, and I can't permit every kind of person to be in there. So I'm very good with the vetting process. I have conversations with people. I don't know what it is about me, but people feel like they can tell me a lot of shit. So a lot of the time, I have a couple of conversations via text. I'm like, no, that's a hard no from me, dog. But like, I'm very conscientious about who I allow around me. And, women make, especially moms and moms of children with special needs, make a huge investment when they're dating, and not like monetarily, let's say, but you're investing your time, the time that you're taking to go on this date. You're spending time away from your child. You're spending time away from your own life, your endeavors, your projects, so it's in your best interest, especially if you're a woman that is, has goals and things in mind, to be very conscious about who you decide to spend that money on. Because that's, that transaction is something that you can't really get back. Once time is gone, it's gone. So I'm very conscious of that, and the people that I allow around me. Like, I feel like in my 20s, I was a little bit more like, oh my God, but look at the potential in this person. And I'm not willing to participate in Build a Man workshop anymore. The person has to be like similar, or like,
we can grow together. We can grow individually and together. That's key. People like to say we can grow together. No, motherfucker. How about you grow first individually on your own, and then together, I'll do the same thing for me, and then together we can build something.
because I've done a lot of the work, you know what I'm saying? But like, I can't be with somebody that still hasn't done the work to heal or doesn't recognize or own up to their own crap.
You know what
Because it's
fucking
like,
sucks?
yeah,
And I see it out there because my nephews and nieces and stuff like that, and it's no one knows how to communicate. And I know I understand because I was once that dude that kept everything inside because that's what I knew. That's what my mom did. She went by the window, smoked a cigarette, blast in La India music, and probably take her anger out on us sometimes by yelling like, clean up this fucking room. And in my head, I'm like, oh boy.
It's like one sock in the middle. It's one sock in the middle of the room.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, but eventually I learned how to communicate, right? I was taught that, and I learned how to express myself and also have my creative outlets, right? But now there's no one teaching that, and on top of that, there's no resources of that, and everyone's always texting, so that's miscommunication there. No one doesn't know how to just express themselves or take things offensive. People love to be the victim now and point the fingers to everybody else, but not their own shit. So what sucks is that, like finding a soulmate or true love, a lot of people are going to ruin that for themselves along the way just because of not knowing how to do the basics of things. And what I mean by that is if you potentially found a mate that you're meant to be with for some years, your own baggage and bullshit is going to ruin the length of that relationship that you're supposed to be in there. And it's because
that part. No, I'm so serious.
Because they don't, everything is going to be through this, or they just be like, whatever, and they ignore it. And it sucks. I have my moments with my wife where we're learning how to communicate in different areas, but at the same time, we still know how to communicate though. But there's just certain things we're just learning how to communicate with each other, like when we're working on projects, stuff like that. But I just feel bad for the people that's out there that's dating, and you would think that it stopped at like maybe as a 25-year-old, 26, maybe they get in the 30s. No, they carry that on all the way to the point that they pass away.
Especially people. So I feel like I'm a very clear communicator. I express myself very eloquently, and I can, talk to different people in different, avenues of life. But there's people that think that they're good communicators, but they're not actually, with something as simple as actually listening, not listening to respond, but listening to understand, right? Yeah. Listening to the person and seeing where they're coming from, and kind of putting yourself in the place of, okay, let me see, they're saying this, but what do they really mean, And a lot of people, I've come across men that are, because I'm heterosexual, but I've come across men that have issues with communicating, and then they're like, that's a woman's thing to talk about their feelings and talk about all this stuff, and I'm just like, not really. Like, clear communication is like actually sexy. Like, if you can tell me how you're feeling, if something made you feel a certain way, we can have a discussion without it getting, argumentative or to the point that's like, oh, you blah 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 are calling me out of my name, because that's a hard, like, that's not happening. My father never did that. I ain't letting anybody call me out of my name. But no, it's like a lot of people need to learn communication, and I agree with you. A lot of people are gonna let the person that is their soulmate slip out of their fingers because they feel like, because of social media, access to people, they feel like they're gonna find the next big thing, and it's like they're searching and searching, and they might end up with crap. Not that people are crap, but people that are not.
No, there's some people that's crap. There's some assholes in this world, there's some crappy people in this world. So yeah, you said it right. It's facts are facts. I struggle with not so much with communicating. I think for me, I struggle with getting, what's that word called? Like not emotional. Oh my God, passionate. So like there's like, even during times in this podcast, like you hear me like raise my voice, but I'm not raising to yell. You know what I'm saying?
No, I know.
I'm getting passionate. I could, that's how I just get, that's how you know I'm in the conversation. I just get passionate. And then, sometimes I something I need to work on where my wife will be like, okay, lower your voice. And then sometimes I get annoyed with that. Sometimes it's like, I'm not yelling. I'm just, because I feel
We're
like,
Dominican.
yeah,
We're Dominican.
exactly. And she's Dominican. She does it too. And I'm just like, yo, can you whisper? Like, you're right here next to me. But like, I don't take it offensive if she does it, right? I just see, I see her as someone who is passionate in this moment. And of course, her voice raised, for her, she's has to see, and also I'm working on it where I'm not yelling at her, and she knows I'm not like, bitch, like I would never do that. But she needs to, when it gets to a conversation, we really into it.
Yeah.
Sometimes she was like, yo, like, relax, like, because I guess like my pressure raises up, and I'm like, no, I'm just saying, and I need to let that out, because I feel like if I don't, and someone's telling me, yo, then I'm like, I feel like suppressing whatever. I guess I gotta find that balance of like, if I do see myself getting there, then don't go back to like, yeah, so this is how I feel, but find that medium,
the happy medium.
So that's where I struggle, and I don't want it. And she knows she's not interpreting that way, but it can be that way where people could hear me from outside or whatever, and I'm like, where it got intimate, like real passionate about, I don't know, dinner. I'm like, I'm tired. I don't want chicken nuggets. Like, I
don't know. My whole thing is like, I feel like consistency is a big thing for me. Like, people that are inconsistent is such a big turnoff. And people don't realize, like, I'm just the type of person that if you're giving me a certain type of energy, right, all the time, the minute the energy changes, I notice, right? And I'll point it out to you, not like, yo, what the fuck is going on? Da, 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 da. I'm like, I feel like something, is everything okay? Do we need to talk about something? Oh, nothing's happening. And I'm just like, so it isn't like, I don't get it,
And I hate, don't change for me, change for you. Like, and when you change for somebody else, you're going to go back to your old shit because you're doing it for me. And then you're going to say, well, I did this because no, do it for you. Notice that, there's a problem. You brought it to my attention, and I should work on it for me, because you're going to end up realizing, oh yeah, that was a consistent error in my life over and over and over again. One thing too, like we had to learn, like, because everyone say like, oh, he's a comedian, he's funny, he's awesome, like I'm supposed to be like on like this all the time, right? Where I feel like people right. So like where people was just, if you're dating, you only see that. And then me and my wife, we dated for like years before anything would like that happen. So once we started living together, people don't know that, like, okay, you see me on stage or you see me, we hang out, that is one layer of me. But when I go home, I'm quiet. I listen to jazz, classical music, like and I'm like a mute. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I'm fine. Everything's going fine here and here. I'm good. And if I am depressed, it's the same thing. Like, I'm just in my head. So when we would be together and we'll start living together, she would recognize that, I'm like quiet. I feel like once I get home, I could take off that layer and I could just, I can just be this and like silence. And she was like, are you okay? Are you all right? I'm like, yeah.
And then that's very telling in the relationship that you guys have together. The fact that you feel okay with being quiet. Like, I feel like there's people that are insecure about it being quiet all the time, and they feel like there's something wrong, right? They want to fill the space with noise. And I feel like very similar to you, like, I'm on all the time. I want to be able to just like, if I'm comfortable and I feel that intimacy with you, I want to be able to sit in your car and we're just quiet and driving and just enjoying the music, the scenery, whatever, like being in the moment and being present at that time. Like, I don't have to always, like, I am a talkative person also, but like there's moments that I'm just like, especially before coffee. Like,
I'm not a morning person. Do not ask me. I mean, I'll answer it, but please don't give me like 1,000, 1,000,000. She used to do that. She has like all day in the middle to ask all these questions. She would either pick the morning or we're ready to say goodnight. We kiss. He says, "Oh, babe, did you do this? Did you do that?" And I finally was like, "Yo, why don't you just write all this stuff down? Why are you asking now?" She'd be like, "Oh, my bad. You're right. Like it became like a constant thing. I'm like, maybe she just forgot, and then it just became a trend. I'm like, yo, you couldn't think of this at 3 p.m., 2
Oh
p.m.
my
It's
God.
like 10 p.m. right now. We both in bed
No.
with eyes closed.
That's a big pet peeve of mine. Or like, you see I'm falling asleep, don't have a conversation with me.
Right. Like
I
those.
literally sound like I'm drunk.
And she
They're
loves
like,
to
oh,
pick
I
the
didn't
best
understand what you were
topics to
saying. I'm like,
talk at those times.
what? I'm
Like,
like,
she loves to pick those great topics at those times. Like something that's
I
so juicy to talk about. I'm like, hey, I would love to have this conversation, but like 2 o'clock
like when
tomorrow.
I'm awake. Yeah.
Yeah. Can we
I
schedule it?
love my mom. I love my mom so much, but she'll be like, she'll bring up the worst conversations to have before coffee. She'll be like, so have you spoken to your son's father? I'm like, are you? I'm like, it's 6 o'clock in the
Yeah.
morning. Por Dios, we haven't had coffee. Relax, man.
To this day, it's funny. Like, my mom is my mom to this day. My mom just knows one layer of me. She's always, of course, she has that motherly instinct where she's always just naturally just worried about her son.
Mm-hmm.
But the same thing that I would do with my wife, eventually she took the years and the moments in the conversation to understand there's nothing wrong with Rick when, he's fine. Or if she knows that I'm going through something, I will share with her and I'm like, I just need the space. When my mom, no matter how many times I would tell her, and I will go to the house and I'll just, we'll catch up with life within 15 minutes. And then I'm just quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And she would think that there's something wrong. She would always is like, there's something wrong with Ricky. Oh, I don't think their marriage is good. Or like she'll just come to conclusions all the time. She's like, oh no, I don't think there's something wrong. I don't think he likes his job. And I didn't say anything, but hello, mom, everything's going great. But if she sees me quiet, like it's like she has to like, she can't just see me there just being quiet.
So you
and
have to put on a show when you're there.
Right. And mind you, because my mom would see that when I would hang out with my friends. She's like, how come, I don't get this version of him in the house when he's just here with me? Mm-hmm. And I feel like I don't have that open communication talk with my mom for many reasons, just because I don't want to worry, but I just felt like, she's not going to fully understand me. Mm-hmm. And I've been through it. I tried it. And I'm selective of what I share with her.
Yeah.
So, and that's how it is for many years. So she will still see me, how I interact with friends or whatever. And she's still like, well, why is he like that with me over here in this house and stuff like that? So what she sees is just a quiet Rick. So like in my brother too. So when they found out that I do comedy and all that stuff, they're like, what? You? Like, I didn't. Until they seen with the stuff that I do, and they're like, it's like day and night. They're like, you're two different fucking people. And I had to learn about that too. And I think you can relate too, because you have different layers that you do: podcaster, mother, teacher, Miss Campos that late at night in the date scene, like, 3 wines, Miss Campos. That's a different layer. So, I think, I had to get comfortable with that too, that there's nothing wrong with me. Like this is one layer. They're like, I'm fine with that. And I think, to lead to, long story short, people need to get to know who and what they are on themselves too, and be comfortable in their own skin. So Ms. Campos, the interview is almost over.
Okay.
There's one thing that we usually do in a segment. If we remember, sometimes we forget, but I remember. It's called Let's Look Inside. And we've got this whole bunch of these life questions, and I've been shuffling them. Even though it looks like I was playing with being that creep, looked like I was playing with my meat, but I wasn't. I was shuffling my car. We was talking about dudes. Hey, how you doing? Can I go in your classroom? I wasn't doing that. I was actually shuffling my cards, but from here it looks like
no, I saw the
cards. So I've been shuffling them, and I'm just gonna select one, and there's like 2 questions on there, and then I'll ask the questions, and then you answer them.
Sounds good.
All right, here we go. Let's see. When was the last time you felt truly appreciated?
I was able to help. So there's a listener that she's a grandmother, and she was going through some stuff. Her daughter was going through some stuff with her child who has special needs. And she felt comfortable enough to like share that with me and ask me for advice. And, the feedback that I got from her, like, the fact that I was able to help her, like she really, really, really appreciated that. And I just felt so like good about that. It was just, there's really no words like that. I was like, this is why I'm doing this.
So last question is, what do you normally take for granted? I like that question.
What do I normally take for granted? You know what? Let's talk about Valentine's Day, right?
Let's do it. You still fresh? You still feeling hurt?
No, I'm not. I'm not.
No, I'm kidding.
No, but like a lot of times, you know, we take for granted the people that love us, and even if it's not romantic love, you know, I feel like the societal pressures on this one day that's not even a real holiday. You know, people tend to kind of like spiral a little, especially when they're not in relationships. So I feel like taking for granted the people that love you and like having that at the forefront all the time, instead of just kind of, you know, looking at social media and being like, oh, I'm so lonely and people don't love me and da 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 da, you know. So yeah. So sometimes taking that for granted, but like I always check back in with myself and I'm like, who said that? I feel like that's my new thing. Like whenever the anxiety starts creeping up, or you know, who said that? Nobody said that, right? So just let it go.